Hello, everybody. This is Journal 3 Interview Reflection. My name is Allisa Azoca. I'm in the Department of Counseling at Houston Christian University as a graduate student. This is for my Counseling 6324, Substance Abuse and Addiction Disorders with Professor Cook-Haywood, April 19th, 2026. For this video journal, I will be reflecting on an interview I conducted with somebody close to me who has experienced substance abuse in the past. For confidentiality purposes, I will not be using their real name or identifying information, and the interviewee is not present in this recording. The purpose of this reflection is to examine how this person's experience with addiction, spirituality, and recovery connect with my personal values and beliefs, as well as how those experiences will shape my approach to addiction counseling. This interview was meaningful because it helped me move beyond and see how biological, emotional, and spiritual factors interact in real life experience. The individual I interviewed identified marijuana as their drug of choice. They shared that marijuana helped them feel relaxed and provided relief from anxiety and PTSD symptoms related to their military service. For them, marijuana was not initially seen as harmful, but rather as a coping strategy that helped quiet intrusive thoughts and emotional distress. They also described how accessibility and affordability reinforced their use. This directly reflects Lewis' 2015 explanation in The Biology of Desire, where addiction is described as a process of learning. Over time, when a substance consistently provides relief, the brain strengthens pathways that associate that substance with safety, comfort, or escape. The interviewee also discussed using marijuana in combination with other substances. Mixing marijuana with pills resulted in extreme level of relaxation, while mixing marijuana with alcohol often led to mood instability and increased irritability or anger. This highlights how substance interactions can intensify emotional dysregulation and complacent recovery. Spirituality played, excuse me, spirituality played an important role in this individual's recovery journey. They shared that attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings helped provide structure, accountability, and a sense of belonging. They also emphasized how counseling services through the VA and participation in church supported their healing process. What stood out to me was that spirituality was not described as something imposed, but rather as something that developed over time through community, reflection, and shared experience. This aligns closely with May's 2007 perspective in Addiction and Grace, where addiction is framed as misdirected longing and recovery involves reconnecting with meaning, love, and grace. Research also supports what my interviewee described. A study by Kelly and colleagues, 2011, found that participation in Alcoholics Anonymous is associated with the improved alcohol-related outcomes, and that these improvements are partially explained by increases in spiritual practices over time. In other words, AA does not simply work through abstinence or accountability alone, but through fostering meaning, connection, and spiritual engagement. Hearing this research alongside the interview reinforced my understanding that AA can be a valuable component of recovery, particularly when clients are open to its spiritual framework. There were additional interview questions that I did ask, I asked, what emotional needs do you believe marijuana was meeting for you at the time? At what point did substance use begin to feel more harmful than helpful? How did this relationship influence your substance use or recovery process? What helped them feel ready to seek support and make changes? And the last question I did ask was, what kind of support do you wish you had earlier in recovery? The responses to these questions emphasize that substance was not the core problem, but rather a response to unmanaged emotional pain, trauma, and stress. This reinforces the idea that addiction often develops alongside, excuse me, rather than isolation. This interviewing significantly shaped how I view my future role as an addiction counselor or possible clients who may be dealing with addiction. It reinforced the importance of approaching clients with curiosity rather than judgment and with empathy rather than control. Hearing how substances initially served a purpose helped me better understand why clients may struggle with ambivalence towards recovery. It also increased my appreciation for peer support models such as Alcoholic Anonymous. The strategies used in Alcoholic Anonymous, such as sponsorship, accountability, shared storytelling, and reliance on a higher power, align with research showing that recovery is strengthened through social support and meaning making. Kelly et al., 2011. This experience has confirmed my belief that effective addiction counseling must be individualized, trauma-informed, and integrative rather than rigid on one size fits all. When I take a look on a personal level, this interview challenged me to reflect on my own values regarding grace, compassion, and patience in the counseling relationship. It reminded me that people turn to substance not because they lack character or motivation, but because they're trying to survive emotional pain with limited tools. Lewis 2015 emphasizes that while addiction is reinforced in the brain, it is not permanent or irreversible. Change occurs through new experiences, supportive relationship, and restored agency. May 2007 further shares that healing often involves reconnecting to love, meaning, and grace, whether it be spiritually or relational in nature. This interview strengthened my commitment to meet clients where they are and to respect their anatomy, belief systems, and readiness for change. In closing, this interview did deepen my understanding of how addiction, spirituality, and recovery all intersect. It helped me clarify my personal values align with compassionate, evidence-based addiction counseling, and reinforce the importance of honoring each individual's unique path to healing. It made me understand that not every individual who is dealing with addiction or recovery, not all are the same. So I do need to take this into consideration in the future. And the interview did open my eyes as, dealing with this one individual and how much more complex this can be um, when dealing or handling other clients of, maybe more complexity of addiction recovery. It did help me understand that there are community of resources in our community, like AA, that are very have been shown to be successful and useful for individuals. References used in this PowerPoint and journal was Lewis M. 2015, The Biology of Desire, Why Addiction is Not a Disease, Public Affairs. Kelly et al., Spirituality and Recovery, a lagged mediational analysis of Alcoholic Anonymous, Principal Theoretical Mechanism of Behavior Change. Alcoholism, Clinical Experimental Research. And May G.G. 207, Addictions and Grace, Love and Spirituality in the Healing of Addictions, Harp 1. Thank you.